The suspect we're looking at right now, it looks like. You can turn a little bit more, Dean. Let me get a little bit better perspective on what's going on here. Yeah, we were under the impression that the white vehicle was the suspect vehicle, and we can see now that this person looks like they're going to be getting into this car or working on a second car also. But we have seen gunfire emitted from this car, pointing out into the parking lot direction, and of course, very cavalier attitude right now. Walking around in the parking lot with their automatic weapons, brandishing their automatic weapons. This situation, we were also, one of the reasons we had to leave, Kyle, so quickly is that I was getting reports from our pilot that they were actually firing on us right now. Now, Dean, if we can circle back around again, we're losing it behind the tree. And yeah, circle around that way if you can. And we're going to keep an eye on these two right here. They were firing off in the direction of the police, which are, as you can see from this wider shot, they have the situation, well perimetered right now. But of course, now you have suspects that are acting we have suspects that are acting quite frantic. Okay, we're following the suspect car right now. We've seen them exchange fire with police already on at least 2 occasions so far since we've been watching. And of course, from what we've been reporting earlier, there have been 2 suspects down. I mean, there are 2 police officers down already. They are opening fire.
Today, we're delving into one of the most gripping and infamous events in recent American history, the North Hollywood Shootout. It's a story that captivated the nation, a showdown between 2 heavily armed bank robbers and law enforcement that unfolded on the streets of Los Angeles. But before we dive into the heart of the action, let's take a step back and explore the backstory of the perpetrators, Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Mătăsăreanu. These 2 men weren't just ordinary criminals. They were seasoned veterans of the underworld, with a string of robberies and violent encounters to their names. Join me as we peel back the layers of their criminal past and uncover the events that led to that fateful day in February 1997. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating moments. Now, let's get started. Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Mătăsăreanu, the perpetrators of the infamous North Hollywood Shootout, had a history of criminal activity that extended beyond their ill-fated attempt to rob the Bank of America branch in 1997. Prior to their final and most notorious heist, both men were involved in a string of robberies and other criminal activities that foreshadowed the violent confrontation that would eventually unfold on that fateful day. Larry Phillips Jr., born in 1970, was a career criminal with a lengthy rap sheet dating back to his teenage years. He grew up in the San Fernando Valley area of Los Angeles and became involved in criminal activity at a young age. Phillips had a history of violence and was known to be heavily involved in the drug trade, as well as various other illegal enterprises. One of the earliest documented instances of Phillips's criminal activity occurred in the early 1990s when he was implicated in a series of armed robberies in the Los Angeles area. These robberies typically targeted small businesses such as convenience stores and gas stations, where Phillips and his accomplices would use firearms to intimidate employees and customers while making off with cash and other valuables. As Phillips's criminal career progressed, so too did the severity and frequency of his offences. By the mid-1990s, he had graduated to more sophisticated and high-stakes crimes, including armed bank robberies and armoured car heists. These operations required meticulous planning and coordination, often involving multiple accomplices and extensive reconnaissance of the target locations. One of the most notable incidents involving Larry Phillips Jr. prior to the North Hollywood Shootout occurred in October 1993, when he and several accomplices attempted to rob an armoured car depot in the San Fernando Valley. Armed with assault rifles and wearing body armour, the group launched a brazen assault on the facility, engaging in a fierce gun battle with security guards and law enforcement officers. Although the perpetrators managed to breach the perimeter of the depot and gain access to the armoured cars, their attempt to steal the cash was thwarted by the swift response of law enforcement. In the ensuing shootout, several members of the robbery crew, including Phillips, sustained injuries, while others were apprehended at the scene or in the subsequent manhunt that followed. Despite being wounded during the shootout, Phillips managed to evade capture and went into hiding, remaining at large for several months before eventually being apprehended by law enforcement. He was subsequently convicted on multiple charges related to the armored car robbery and sentenced to a lengthy prison term, serving several years behind bars before being released on parole. Emil Mătăsăreanu, the other half of the North Hollywood duo, had a similarly checkered past marked by a history of criminal activity and run-ins with the law. Born in Romania in 1966, Mătăsăreanu immigrated to the United States with his family at a young age and settled in the Los Angeles area, where he became involved in various illicit activities. Like Phillips, Mătăsăreanu had a penchant for violence and was known to be heavily armed and dangerous. He had a reputation for being hot-headed and unpredictable, with a propensity for aggressive behavior and confrontations with authority figures. Mătăsăreanu's criminal record included prior convictions for weapons offences, assault, and other violent crimes. One of the earliest documented instances of Mătăsăreanu's involvement in criminal activity occurred in the late 1980s, when he was arrested and charged with assault and battery following a violent altercation with a security guard at a local nightclub. This incident served as a precursor to Mătăsăreanu's later involvement in more serious and high-profile crimes. By the early 1990s, Mătăsăreanu had become increasingly entrenched in the criminal underworld, associating with known felons and participating in a variety of illegal enterprises. He was known to be heavily armed and was rumoured to have connections to organised crime syndicates operating in the Los Angeles area. One of the most significant episodes in Mătăsăreanu's criminal career occurred in 1995 when he was implicated in a series of armed robberies targeting banks and armoured cars in the San Fernando Valley. These robberies were carried out with military precision, often involving multiple perpetrators armed with assault rifles and other high-powered weapons. Mătăsăreanu's involvement in these robberies was characterized by his brazenness and audacity, as well as his willingness to use extreme violence to achieve his objectives. In several instances, he and his accomplices engaged in prolonged gun battles with law enforcement, resulting in injuries and fatalities on both sides. Despite law enforcement's best efforts to apprehend him, Mătăsăreanu remained elusive and continued to evade capture for several years. He operated with impunity, striking fear into the hearts of civilians and law enforcement alike, as he continued to perpetrate acts of violence and criminality with impunity. The culmination of Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Mătăsăreanu's criminal careers came on February 28, 1997, when they launched their audacious attempt to rob the Bank of America branch in North Hollywood. Armed to the teeth and fortified with homemade body armor, the two men engaged in a prolonged and bloody shootout with law enforcement officers that would ultimately claim their lives and leave an indelible mark on the history of American law enforcement. The North Hollywood Shootout stands as one of the most infamous and intense gun battles in the history of American law enforcement. Taking place on February 28, 1997, in the North Hollywood neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, this harrowing event involved a fierce confrontation between two heavily armed bank robbers and law enforcement officers that left an indelible mark on policing tactics and public perception. The two perpetrators, Larry Phillips Jr. and Emil Mătăsăreanu, meticulously planned their heist, intending to rob the Bank of America branch situated at the intersection of Laurel Canyon Boulevard and Archwood Street. Both men were equipped with an arsenal of high-powered weaponry, including fully automatic rifles, handguns and homemade body armor, composed of multiple layers of Kevlar and heavy clothing. The robbers arrived at the bank shortly after 9 a.m. local time, their presence immediately arousing suspicion. As they entered the bank, they brandished their weapons and initiated the robbery, swiftly overwhelming the security guards and initiating their plan to steal as much money as possible. However, their actions triggered an alarm, prompting a rapid response from law enforcement agencies in the area. The first officers to arrive at the scene were from the Los Angeles Police Department's North Hollywood Division. Unaware of the magnitude of the threat they were facing, they initially attempted to contain the situation with their standard-issue handguns. However, they soon realized they were outgunned and outmatched by the robbers' superior firepower. As the officers engaged Phillips and Mătăsăreanu, they quickly discovered that their 9mm pistols were ineffective against the robbers' body armor. The perpetrators, meanwhile, unleashed a barrage of gunfire, spraying bullets indiscriminately and creating chaos in the surrounding area. Realizing the gravity of the situation, law enforcement agencies swiftly mobilized additional resources, including SWAT teams and specialized units equipped with heavier weaponry. However, it would take time for these reinforcements to arrive, leaving the officers on the scene to confront the heavily armed assailants on their own. The shootout that ensued was nothing short of a war zone. The robbers, emboldened by their arsenal of weapons and fortified by their makeshift body armor, engaged in a ferocious exchange of gunfire with the police. Bullets flew in all directions as officers sought cover and returned fire, while civilians in the vicinity scrambled for safety, caught in the crossfire. The intensity of the gun battle was unlike anything the city had ever seen. Television news helicopters circled overhead, broadcasting live footage of the unfolding chaos to a stunned audience watching from their homes. The surreal spectacle captivated the nation, drawing comparisons to scenes from a Hollywood action movie. Despite their overwhelming firepower, Phillips and Mătăsăreanu found themselves increasingly cornered as law enforcement tightened the perimeter around them. With their ammunition dwindling and their escape routes blocked, they resorted to desperate measures to prolong their standoff with police. At one point during the shootout, the robbers attempted to commandeer a nearby getaway vehicle, a white Chevrolet Celebrity parked outside a local supermarket. However, their efforts were thwarted by the swift response of law enforcement, who managed to disable the vehicle and prevent their escape. As the gun battle raged on, officers struggled to maintain their composure under fire while coordinating their efforts to neutralize the threat posed by the robbers. Despite sustaining numerous casualties and injuries, they remained steadfast in their determination to bring the perpetrators to justice and protect the public from harm. The turning point in the shootout came when SWAT officers arrived on the scene with more powerful weaponry, including rifles capable of penetrating the robbers' body armor. Armed with these specialized weapons, they launched a concerted assault on Phillips and Mătăsăreanu, gradually gaining the upper hand in the protracted battle. As the momentum shifted in favor of law enforcement, the robbers found themselves increasingly isolated and vulnerable. With their ammunition exhausted and their options dwindling, they made a desperate attempt to escape on foot, abandoning their weapons and shedding their body armor in a bid to evade capture. However, their flight was short-lived, as they were quickly pursued and surrounded by a swarm of officers converging on their position. In a final act of defiance, Phillips turned his weapon on himself, taking his own life rather than face capture. Mătăsăreanu, critically wounded but still alive, was taken into custody and transported to a nearby hospital, where he later succumbed to his injuries. The North Hollywood Shootout left an indelible mark on the city of Los Angeles and law enforcement agencies across the country. It exposed glaring deficiencies in police preparedness and highlighted the need for better equipment, training, and tactics to confront the evolving threat posed by heavily armed criminals. In the aftermath of the shootout, law enforcement agencies implemented sweeping reforms aimed at enhancing their ability to respond to similar incidents in the future. This included the widespread adoption of military-style rifles, such as the AR-15, by police departments across the United States, as well as improvements in body armor and tactical training for officers. Moreover, the shootout sparked a broader national conversation about gun control laws and the proliferation of high-powered weapons in civilian hands. It served as a sobering reminder of the devastating consequences that can result when such weapons fall into the wrong hands, and the importance of addressing the root causes of gun violence in society. 27 years have passed since that fateful day in North Hollywood, but the memory of the shootout still lingers in the collective consciousness of law enforcement officers and the public alike. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers inherent in police work and the sacrifices made by those who put their lives on the line to uphold the law and protect the communities they serve.
He's firing his weapon right now, Kyle, as he runs. You can see the shells ejecting from the side, the port of the rifle as he fires and tries to get away down the side of the street. Now we've lost him behind this garbage truck or disposal truck, and we're going to wait here and see what happens. This is his obviously an accomplice here on this white vehicle here that we're seeing now drive quite erratically, possibly a wounded suspect at this point. And we're keeping an eye on this right now. Let me just take a quick look back over to the right as this situation unfolds. Dean, if you could go back around again one more time. What it looked like, Kyle, is originally that this car pulled up to the side of the bank, maybe to try and pick up the other suspects. And there's a gray van that gray van actually is what we heard was being pursued earlier. I don't know if this is the same gray van, but it's unlikely that it would just come into this neighborhood like this. Now we have this vehicle taking off again. What we thought was going to happen was that this vehicle was going to come up and try and pick up that suspect that we saw brandishing the AK-47, firing indiscriminately around at police officers. I'm sorry. I don't know where this other guy went. I got him. Yeah. Okay, he's got a pistol out now. Okay. Gone. Okay, now getting out of the car. Okay, we have another suspect out of the car now, brandishing his AK-47. Okay, he's injured. Well, Kyle, as you saw pretty graphically just moments ago, one suspect was taken down by LAPD. This is after he, of course, emptied several clips from his AK-47 in the direction of police officers. And at the time of his takedown, he was also firing from a semi-automatic pistol. Now, we just saw a second suspect get out of this white car. Now he's back in and he's moving again. But when he came out of the car, he came out with his assault rifle at full port arms. He was ready to fire, and as a matter of fact, popped off a couple rounds. Now we are seeing some other vehicles drift in and out of the area. Now this area is pretty controlled. Dean, you can start a forward movement very slowly, though. We don't want to get too close. Well, actually, we're about, I would say, 4 blocks east of the bank location. This is a street that runs directly off the bank, perpendicular to Laurel Canyon, and it's this suspect has pulled out of the parking lot, made a right turn, and has basically been traveling down that road ever since. We could see, I should say, from the helicopter that when when this person got out of the car, he was limping. So this person has been injured. It could explain part of the erratic behavior that we've seen so far. Now, of course, the suspects in this crime have displayed absolutely no care about life or limb for themselves and for anyone else. So you have to, anybody that's in this area, and you can see now that civilians are being involved in this. We're going to see this person try and take this person's car right now. Absolutely try to stay out of this area if you can. We have loose, armed, and dangerous suspects in this area, and they have no sensibility when it comes to life. Now we're seeing some shots being taken on the front of this car. You can see these pickup truck, and these people are getting out of the area. That's the thing to do. Move. Get out of there. Some people are realizing what they've come up against now, and they're leaving the area. Yes. That's right, Kyle. Right now, we're going to see this person try and maybe get into this car, although he's going to have to get his car out of the way first. But, there's a lot going on right here, as you know and as you've seen. We still have people that are in the air that haven't been getting this word. Maybe this should be going out on the radio also, that this is an area to avoid at all costs. We have loose suspects in this area, and they don't have any care or anything about any human life. Now we're going to watch this person try and get into this car and possibly drive away. Okay, looks like he's just thrown a pistol down onto the hood of the other car. He's offloading right now, Kyle. That's correct, Kyle. And okay, maybe no keys in this car now. So now this has become police on the scene, just driving up, bullets being exchanged, fire being exchanged. You can see a fusillade of bullets into this suspect vehicle as police open fire, and you can see that the suspect is also opening fire straight through the windshield of the car, trying to defend himself or make a last stand, as you might see. But okay, yeah, this is they're spraying fire. The suspect is spraying fire randomly. The police seem to be, they're taking cover behind their car, and they're waiting for a shot, obviously, to try and take this very, very armed and dangerous suspect out of circulation here, and that's exactly what they're going to do here in moments. Matter of fact, we're going to just take a little bit wider angle so you can still see what's going on, but we don't want to be too graphic here, as we saw in the last situation, because obviously these aren't people that the police are going to be able to deal with and talk out of a situation like this. They have shown total disregard for human safety and pedestrians and citizens in the area, and obviously they've already wounded 2 police officers. So this is a very dangerous bunch of culprits here that the police are dealing with this morning. Two car widths away. That's right, Kyle. And the suspect is down in the front of that white car. You can just see the top of his head there. He also, the police now that are dealing with this suspect, I could tell that they're the SWAT team. They are in military uniform. And okay, is this, do we have a suspect surrendering, or is this just reloading? No, looks like maybe he was just cleaning off the muzzle of his gun or something. I thought at first that he might have been surrendering. But what we have right behind this palm tree, and I have to reiterate, we hesitate to get too close to this situation, because as you heard the LAPD officer moments ago on the telephone say that the suspects have been firing in the air. Okay, now we're watching the LAPD officer go around to the side of the car, try and get a little bit better angle, and this could come to a quick conclusion as we speak. Okay, they're talking to the suspect. Maybe the suspect has his hands in the air. Okay, we're going to see a surrender now. So this suspect is going to